Hi everyone! Today I'm super pumped to show you my experience using the new Scorpio Spear Beyblade in a competitive Beyblade tournament. Now this tournament's a little bit different from the ones that I normally do because it is actually an official ranked tournament through WBO. So that means that there is a lot more at stake, and for that exact reason, I really wanted to go all out with the combos that I brought today. So, with that being said, let's go ahead and get right into what I used. So, as I just said, I do want to mention that this is a WBO ranked tournament. So that means that my deck actually isn't locked and I'm able to make adjustments throughout the tournament, which I in fact do. But to start off, these are the three bays that I started the tournament with. First off, we have Scorpio Spear on 960 Low Orb. The game plan for this combination is to move around the stadium using Low Orb's movement patterns to avoid big hits from attackers. Scorpio's gimmick also allows it to tank hits in the beginning of the match, while enabling Scorpio to do harsh counterattacks in return when it hits the extreme line. This combination was given to me as a suggestion by a fellow community member on my local Discord server. So while I didn't have much experience with it going into the tournament, I thought it could be fun to at least try for a round or two. Next up is of course my GOAT Nightmail on 760 Hexa. This defensive combination can tank hits like nobody's business. I have talked about this combination endlessly on a previous video. It is so much fun to use and I adore this Beyblade so much. And last but not least, of course, we have Wizard Rod on 360 Ball. Now, of course, I couldn't use 960 on this since I already used 960 on Scorpio Spear, but I actually wanted to use 360 on Wizard Rod because I believe that this ratchet actually has a bit more stability than 960 does. So that about covers all the combinations that I used at the beginning of the tournament. So let's go ahead and get into round 1 of Swiss. For this tournament, the 5 rounds of Swiss are a single set, first to 4 points. So with that knowledge, I knew I had to play it pretty safe in these early rounds. My first round had me up against Winter. Today, they brought some pretty interesting combos that I haven't seen really used much, like this first round here. I decided it was a safe bet to use my Nightmail first, as they used their Phoenix Feather on 380 Low Rush. I was feeling very confident in this matchup because I knew that as long as I avoided those early knockouts, Nightmail would easily outspin Phoenix Feather, and this battle shows exactly that, with me now being up 1-0. The second battle has my Scorpio against their Crimson Garuda on 970 Unite. I was unsure how to feel about this matchup since Garuda is a bay that I have close to zero experience with, so I decided to try and launch it to the corner to stall. Sadly, I instantly regretted that decision, but that's okay, because even if I'm down a point here, I still have Wizard Rod in the back that can squeeze out a couple wins. Which, speaking of, the third battle was my Wizard against their Phoenix Wing on 960 Under Needle. I knew this low height bay could potentially snipe Wizard's Ratchet if it was launched with a more aggressive tilt, but I didn't really have much of a choice. Luckily, Winter launched into the center of the stadium, which allowed Wizard Rod to do exactly what it does best. After the third round, we shuffled our bays as I decided to try and get some more safe points with Wizard Rod as Winter chose to use their Garuda. And well, Wizard didn't have to do much at all as Winter's Garuda sadly self-KO'd after contact was made. That means that I win round 1 with a score of 4-2. Round 2 has me up against Ginsu Weaver, who is actually one of the tournament organizers. Our first battle has my Scorpio Spear against his Impact Drake on 660 Low Flat. And well, there's not much to say about that match. It was really here that I began losing confidence with this combo. Anyways, the second battle has my Nightmail against his Silverwolf on 560 Freeball. I knew I was at a stamina disadvantage going into this, since Hexa naturally has less stamina than Freeball, so I really tried to launch hard and aggressive to get some big hits with Nightmail's blunt shape. Sadly, my attempts were met with a spin finish from Silverwolf as I slowly began to sweat. The score was now 3-0. Ginsu just needed one more point. But I knew it wasn't over, and I went into the third battle with hope that Wizard Rod can start a winning streak for me. Ginsu's third bay was Samurai Saber on 360 Low Rush. This matchup was exactly what I needed to start getting some points, as Wizard Rod's great stamina and defense allowed it to outspin Ginsu's Samurai with no trouble at all. Ginsu and I shuffle our bays, and we both go for the stamina bay, of course. My wizard against his wolf, who wins? Well, I feel pretty good about these matchups as I tend to launch a little harder than my opponent does, but that didn't even matter as I managed to snipe Ginsu's wolf, tying up the score. For our final battle of the set, I chose my knight as he brought out his Impact Drake. Another favorable matchup for me, defense versus attack. It was at this moment that I knew that I had won the match. And as I did this elusive launch, this happened. This right here is what Beyblade is all about to me. What a match. After that second round, I was feeling absolutely invincible, but there was one thing that was really egging on in the back of my head. Scorpio Spear almost costed me the entire game. That early first battle where I got completely destroyed by the Impact Drake costed me 2 points. And if I would have started with Scorpio Spear again after we shuffled our bays, I may have lost. Something needed to change. And in that moment, I decided to swap Scorpio Spear from 960 low orb to 960 point. This combination will hone in on Scorpio Spear's more aggressive side, as this mode switch will allow it to hit the opponent extremely hard after it hits the extreme line. Point also allows Scorpio to have a little bit more stamina at the end of the battle, which is really what I'm looking for in terms of this bay. Anyways, with that being said, let's go ahead and get right into the third round. Going into the third round, I had a new sense of confidence in all 3 of my bays. And as I walked up to the stadium, I was met by Pizza Dan Man. I start the battle with my new Scorpio combo, as Dan goes for the classic Dragoon combo of 560 Elevate. I won't lie to you, I was not feeling good going into this battle. I knew that if Scorpio didn't get an early KO, then Dragoon's left spin would equalize my little arachnid. And well, despite my efforts, this is exactly what happened. Not a great start for Scorpio's supposed better combo, but either way I had to move forward. Dan's second bay was Impact Drake on 360 low rush, as I of course used my Nightmail. After beating Ginsu's Impact Drake only a few minutes ago, I felt that I easily had this one in the bag. I hard launched with a slight tilt to try and repel Dan's incoming attacks, but if I'm being totally honest, I did leave myself wide open right there if he went for an instant extreme line launching style. Thankfully he didn't do that, and my confidence was once again fueled even further as my favorite bay tanked Dan's Drake like it was being hit by a soft pillow. The score is tied up now as we go into the third battle with my Wizard Rod against his Scorpio on 560 gear point. After we launched, Scorpio's early aggressiveness thanks to gear point really scared me. It felt like at any moment Wizard would just be hit into the extreme pocket and I'd lose the game. It was a good thing that Wizard managed to hold on as Scorpio's stamina naturally drained over time during the course of the battle. With Wizard getting yet another outspin, I had the advantage moving into the fourth battle. I wanted to try and rack up more points, and so I of course used Wizard Rod once again as Dan chose his Scorpio. In the moment I felt that I had this one in the bag, and well, it turns out I did. That's another extreme finish and another win in my pocket. My Swiss record was 3-0 after that match, and I knew that if I wanted to make the top 8 that I'll have to keep this momentum up. My fourth match has me up against Gold Sox. Starting off was my Scorpio against their Wizard Rod on 160 low orb. It really felt like Scorpio was just getting hit with really bad matchups in this tournament. My goal was to face other attackers with it, but it hasn't really happened at all so far. Gold Sox's Wizard Rod got the outspin, of course, giving them an early lead. That's fine though, as the second battle has my Nightmail against their Phoenix Wing on what looks like 570 low rush, maybe 580. All of the blue Phoenix Wings from Hasbro have the new heavier mold, so its hits were even harder against my bay. I had faith in Nightmail though, and my faith grew ever stronger as it carried Phoenix Wing into the pocket. My third bay, of course, is Wizard Rod, as Gold Sox uses their Silver Wolf on 080 Wedge. I thought this combo was super cool going into the battle. I've been trying to find a way to use Wedge, so this gave me some inspiration. I did a standard flat launch to try and take center of the stadium, and this battle was actually really kind of too close for comfort. I felt that as Silver Wolf didn't hit the extreme line as much as it did, that I easily could have lost by an outspin. But after securing my third point, Gold Sox and I both anchored on our Wizard Rod. Which, before you scoff, this ditto was actually pretty interesting. I felt like I had the better stamina combo going into the battle, so I knew that if I did a good launch, I'd be able to win through an outspin. Even if what I said is true though, that doesn't actually matter in the moment, as it really was coming down to the wire. As the winner of the outspin was on the cusp of being called, the 160 on Gold Sox Wizard Rod burst on the stadium. That means I got an extra 2 points on top of winning the match. My final round of Swiss was a very quick one, as it had me up against Pyromaniac. He actually had the same 4-0 record as me going into the match. Our first bays were my Scorpio against his Hell's Hammer on 660 taper. I was so excited to finally use Scorpio in a matchup that I planned for, and my launch expressed that as I went all into the aggression. And finally, for what I believe is the first time in this tournament, Scorpio finally got a dub. And it was a good one too. And as I put my Wizard Rod against his Whale Wave on 380 kick, I knew that my wishes towards a perfect Swiss run were due to come true. I wasn't expecting it, but we're in top 8 now. I went undefeated in Swiss, so it's kind of exciting. Scorpio finally got his first dub, which is very nice. Let's hope that I can actually get more use out of it in top 8. But anyway, speaking of which, going into quarterfinals, I was put up against Withered 16. Top 8 is played with the WBO format, in which it is a single set in which the players play to 7 points. After showing each other our decks, we both chose our first bay for the battle. I went for Nightmail as he chose his Cobalt Dragoon on 760 Hexa. Since he wasn't using Dragoon on Elevate, I knew this matchup could be won as long as Nightmail doesn't give Dragoon too much spin in the late game. And as my bay continued to pummel my opponent, we managed to outspin it. After that battle, Withered chose his swap bays as he chose his Bite Croc on 960 Low Rush. I also swapped, moving to Scorpio Spear to see if I can get it its second win. Again, this is exactly the kind of matchup that I wanted Scorpio to play against, so I went into this battle with confidence. And as the Croc began to self-KO, my Scorpio goes in and ruins any chance of Withered's Bay coming back. That's already 4 points towards my 7, and I was feeling good. Withered once again chose to swap bays as he went to his Phoenix Swing on 360 flat. I swapped a Wizard Rod, and despite Phoenix hitting some big hits in early on, I knew that Wizard would be able to hold on strong. Facing a Phoenix Wing like this, there's not much that you really have to do as a Wizard Rod, outside of just avoiding the center of the stadium in the beginning of the matches. But as long as you can do that and dodge a couple of big hits, you're pretty much good to go. That's another outspin for us, moving on to the next battle. This next battle, I decided to stay on Wizard Rod, as Withered once again swapped to his Bite Croc. It was at this point in this match that it was pretty clear to me that my bays were just walling Withered's deck of primarily attackers. In retrospect, I feel kind of bad, but I didn't exactly make the bracket, and that's just kind of how the game goes sometimes. I think it's very important to build a balanced deck with a variety of parts instead of focusing only on one type over another, and this is basically just a masterclass on that. Moving past that though, I couldn't believe that I was actually able to win my first round of top 8 to a clean sweep like this. Semifinals had me once again up against Gold Sox. This time they brought an updated deck that they were confident in winning the entire tournament with, and I believe I was the perfect person to test it on. We start the match with my Nightmail against their Wizard Rod, which is now a 960 low orb. All I could do against Wizard Rod is launch hard and hope that Nightmail manages to get some strong hints to destabilize Gold Sox's bay. Sadly, that wasn't possible in this battle as Gold Sox took an early lead. I decided to swap to my Wizard Rod as Gold Sox stayed on theirs. Luckily for me, my Wizard was able to hit the opponent's bay just right to allow it to grab me 2 points. I chose to stay on Wizard Rod as Gold Sox swapped to their Tyranno Beat on 370 kick. In the moment, I felt that Wizard could reasonably tank the hits from Tyranno Beat, but after a burst like this, I slowly started to panic. Was 360 not the ideal ratchet? Should I have swapped around some parts in between matches? My mind was racing, and I didn't know what to do. So I went back to my old habits, and I chose Nightmail. I kept telling myself that Scorpio wasn't consistent enough to use now, that I needed a bay that I could rely on. But my hubris got the best of me, as my prized bay fell into the pocket. No, that couldn't be. I immediately called for a rematch, and Gold Sox obliged. Just like that, a dreadful sense of deja vu hit me as Nightmail was almost knocked out again. I decided to swap, but I again failed to reach for Scorpio as I grabbed my Wizard Rod. We launch our bays, and by some miracle, Gold Sox's Tyranno Beat jumped into the extreme pocket. In the blink of an eye, the score was now 5-6. I knew that if I wanted any chance at winning, that I'd have to anchor onto my Wizard Rod harder than ever. Gold Sox swap to their Wizard Rod, and I do the same. We launch our bays, and that's all she wrote. Well, there it is. Another tournament, another absolutely heartbreaking loss. Yeah, unfortunately, burst finishes are deemed directly on contact when it happens, and whenever you get into a pocket like that and your base still spinning, there's still technically a chance for you to escape the pocket, so that's the reason why the burst takes priority in that situation. All I had to do in that situation was just take the loss on my chin and kind of move on, because I knew in the back of my head that I can't lose hope yet since the tournament's not over. If you all saw my previous video using multi-non Eros bays in a tournament, you would know that I actually placed 4th in that tournament, which up until this exact moment was currently the best that I have ever done in a tournament. But if I allowed myself to really focus in on this next match here and I managed to get 3rd place, that means that this tournament, which is my first WBO ranked tournament, will be the best that I have ever done, ever. So I took the loss from Gold Sox on my chin, took a deep breath, and walked up to the stadium for the battle of 3rd place. It all comes down to this final battle against Unk. If I can beat him, then I can place 3rd and claim my new best tournament placing. Unk specializes in his anime-styled launches, so I knew that if I could just play around those, then I have a good chance of winning. Our first battle was the Battle of the Scorpios. Unk Scorpio actually had the combo that I started with at the beginning of the tournament, that being 960 low orb. Unk Scorpio just naturally has more stamina than me on low orb, so it makes sense that I lost a point here. I chose to swap to my Nightmail, as Unk swapped to his Phoenix Wing on 360 Underneedle. And with just a little tap on the ratchet, Nightmail was able to regain the lead with a burst finish. Unk chose to swap to his Leon Claw on 160 Zap as I grabbed my Wizard Rod. Wizard tanked some big hits as Leon Claw was deflected into the extreme line, resulting in a KO. I began to sweat a bit after this battle. I was so close to victory once again, I just had to hang on a little longer. I stayed on Wizard Rod as Unk chose to use his Phoenix Wing once again. With a direct hit as we touched the stadium floor, Wizard Rod knocked out Phoenix Wing, securing me my placing of 3rd. I'm so sad about that loss, you know. But overall, I'm gonna stop myself from being too harsh because that was so much fun. I went 6-1, I believe, which is insane. I went completely undefeated in Swiss just to get 3rd place at the end. But you know what? That's not too bad. I, in fact, did get a 2nd copy of Drawn Brave, so, you know, I got another lock chip that I can use, and I guess the 660. That's pretty cool. But not just that. I didn't completely lose because Ginsu Weaver, the guy who got 2nd place, he opened up the Hell's Reaper set, the Hell's Reaper booster that he got for winning 2nd place. And I'll go ahead and show you what he got right here.
Oh, well.
Nope, it's Rhino.
Rhino! I should have won it. I should have traded.
No, I'm good.
Can you imagine if I actually would have won that? That would have been insane content. But he told me that since I already pre-ordered the set, that I can actually have his Rhino Reaper blade until I get the set, and then I just give him the Rhino Reaper blade back. So I'm so happy that he ended up giving that to me. It's so sick. He took the ratchet, but who cares? I already have a 455 from Wizard Arc. But overall, a win is a win. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Let me guys know what you thought about the Scorpio combos that I used. And yeah, like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.